All right, so this past Friday I got off of work and I got in my car, and a lot of times what I'll do is just scroll through my socials to see what's going on. And I saw that Jim Carrey had won a César Award, which I guess is a super prestigious award they give out in France for film, and it's sort of like the equivalent of the Oscars for us. Little did I know that this would become a growing online conspiracy that Jim Carrey had been replaced by a clone. I mean, think about it. He's got a new face, he's got a different energy, he all of a sudden has a new respect for the film industry. But I think this has very little to do with Jim Carrey and more to do with human psychology and growth overall. Sometimes the strangest theories tell us the most about ourselves. So I want to take a deeper look at this from 4 different perspectives, because I think if we look a little deeper into this, this theory can tell us quite a bit about identity, aging, and also belonging. The first perspective is the aging discomfort sort of problem. Most of the time, celebrities like Jim Carrey get cemented in our heads and our minds at their peak. Like if you remember early Jim Carrey, like from The Mask, Ace Ventura, he did The Truman Show. The Truman Show, everyone knew who he was. But by the time Bruce Almighty happened, if you didn't know who Jim Carrey was, you were living under a rock. And that's essentially the mental snapshot that we have of him, is that version of himself. And when that gets disrupted by the passage of time, our brain resists and goes, that's not the same person. Because in a sense, it isn't. So instead of saying this is a different, older version of Jim Carrey, we say this is a different version of Jim Carrey that has been replaced by the previous version. Which is funny because, like I said, it's kind of true if you think about it. A lot of us struggle with our own aging. Believe it or not, there was a period of time where I used to have hair. And we struggle with the aging of others too. My parents are getting older, and there used to be a time where they would run circles around me. And now the roles have sort of reversed. Conspiracies can become convenient when we want to explain away the inevitable. It's often easier to believe in a clone than to believe that time moves forward for them and for us. And people change, and then they change again, and then they change again, and then they change again, and so forth. Second perspective, the need to feel in the know. I get this, I totally get this. Each individual person has a need to feel perceptive and awake and aware. And in a word, special. Being a part of a group that sees through the illusion gives us a sense of specialness and meaning. It creates this sort of feeling of instant community with those who are in that space with you. A shared secret equals a shared feeling of belonging. Maslow's tier 2 of the hierarchy of needs. But here's the thing, real growth isn't about feeling special or superior. It's about seeing clearly without needing to feel special. Just pure awareness without ego. Because true awareness doesn't need to feel a sense of belonging. It stands on its own 2 legs. Perspective number 3, we have pattern-seeking minds. The brain is a machine, and it sees patterns even when patterns don't exist. Everything that we know is a mental infrastructure of the thing, not the thing in itself. And if you listen to any Alan Watts, you're probably quite aware of this. We see facial differences over time because of aging, lighting, makeup, procedures. I don't know if Jim Carrey had any procedures, but those things generally aren't talked about. Clips sort of taken out of context. And once someone believes this, then it's easier for the next person to believe it, and the next person, and the next person. Every new image or clip becomes a stacked on reason to believe, because again, our minds are pattern-seeking machines. The same pattern bias affects our everyday life. We see rejection where there's no rejection, and we see failure where there's just a process unfolding itself. That true awareness that I was talking about a while ago, that is looking down on everything, not just at the physical or world around you, but the machine that is your mind. We question not just what's outside of us, but the own narratives that we've been creating. Perspective number 4, last but definitely not least, the reason that this has run sort of so wild is because it's just more fun and interesting to believe. ordinary explanations feel boring compared to the dramatic ones that we can sort of conjure. He aged and changed spiritually is kind of boring, right? To me, it's interesting, and maybe to you it is as well, but to most people, that's not good enough. And I know I'm thinking it too, that Jim Carrey already changed spiritually, but that process doesn't just stop. He's doing it again. If I had to guess, my conspiracy is that at a certain point, Jim Carrey stopped saying, I'm going to stop hating on film. I'm going to stop hating on this thing that I'm doing that is pretending to be someone else. And I'm going to encompass that in my circle of love too. And I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to love it. Because Jim Carrey, from what I've seen, is very hyper spiritually aware. And I just think that's not stopping. He's just loving more and more and more. How can you reject the love of millions and millions of people? And hey, we want to honor you because you have just done so well. Even though you might not necessarily exist, Jim, we get it. You know, a lot of other people out there get that too. We still want to honor you as an individual, little piece of the thing. But you know, he was replaced by someone. That's cinematic and that's drama. And we crave story, we crave drama, as if he hasn't given us enough. And unfortunately for me, social media awards the extreme and raucous, not the balanced takes. But here's the thing, growth often looks boring, non-sexy. It looks like consistency over time. It looks like doing one boring thing every day that you know is going to benefit you. And along the way, maturity happens, and so does aging. Real transformation is subtle and not theatrical. And the truth doesn't usually go viral, but it does set you free. If you're watching this, we really can use this, if you're a utilitarian type, as a sort of level up in our own lives. Where do we resist reality in our own lives? Where do we create a narrative instead of create change? And are we avoiding discomfort by giving certain other explanations? For Jim, he's changed. He's grown spiritually and philosophically more than one time, and he may do it again. He's also not the same energetic person that we used to know in the 90s. Now, don't get me wrong, he's still way more energetic than I am in my 30s, but that's normal. That's human. We're all changing constantly. No one stays the same forever. And that's what it is to grow. Growth means accepting change without fear, or even if you do feel fear, moving into and accepting it anyways. And then what happens after that? Fear all of a sudden doesn't disappear. You just realize it wasn't real in the first place. Growth is awareness without superiority, right? Just being aware of what is, not needing to feel special or different than anyone else. Growth is accepting reality for what it is without distortion, and being curious and trying to figure things out for what they really are, instead of creating a story that you can control. Anyways, what do you think? Am I wrong? Is it real? Is Jim Carrey now a clone and the real one is gone? Let me know what you think in the comments. And what's something in your life that's changed, and instead of explaining it away, you had to face it head on? I'd love to know. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe so that you can see when I release more super duper interesting stuff like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.